Mending
Mending
Hearts
Hearts
with
with
Lisa.
and Bron.
Okay, so we'll be speaking about anxiety, depression.
Breaking the cycles, especially intergenerational cycles, things that we are all currently going through, but we find that not a lot of people are speaking about it, especially right now in our society and also in our age group, I guess.
Yes,
It's
definitely.
quite hard to find people our age in the early 30s, born in the early 90s, speaking about these
Exactly.
things right now, just because we find that a lot of the older generation are at this point now where they've come to realize that, hey, but my parents have done things like this, so I've got to do things a bit differently. But
Exactly.
now here we are actually doing it.
Yes.
So that is what this is also about. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also like our journeys as mothers from before and even to
Now,
present to where
yeah.
we are at currently.
Yes.
So yeah,
And also, we just want to let it out there that we are not trying to, we are not doctors and
mm,
we are not psychologists. We are um, helping others the way we try to deal with our life.
exactly.
It might not help the next person, but we can help one person out of 10.
Someone.
Yeah.
And this is like
um,
our stories. These are
yes,
our journeys. So
exactly.
it's not that we are also giving advice to anybody. We're not saying do what we have done
Yeah,
and don't make the choices that we have made, or you might decide that you want to
agree.
make and us just sharing our stories
Yeah,
and like the choices we've made in our lives,
exactly.
in every like role and area and aspect that we have come to kind of play at this point
Yeah,
in
where
our
we are
lives.
now.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're just going to introduce ourselves. So, Bron, you can take the
Yeah.
stage.
Yeah, so I'm Bronwyn. I have a 13-month-old, and she is actually the reason why we are at this point. I am personally at this point where we are now wanting to make changes. We're wanting to do things differently. We are not wanting to parent the way we have been
Yeah.
parented, you know? So yeah, that is kind of where I'm at right now. Obviously, each and every one of us has a story. So along the way, we will get to all of those little points as well. But right now, currently, this is where I find myself. So yeah, and you, Lisa.
Okay, so I'm Lisa. I'm a mother of two. I'm married. My firstborn was at the age of 21, and my secondborn was at the age of 28 when married. The first one was not married. The second one, I was married.
You're almost
Um,
married.
yeah, wait. um, so yeah, so we are going to start by speaking about our journeys and where we are about like now.
Yeah.
Okay, so
But also, you mentioned anxiety, depression, all of those things. So like we have actually said before, like we ask ourselves where has this started in our lives?
yeah,
So how do we backtrack? Like when was the first time we felt the way that we kind of now are only being made aware that
yeah,
hey, but this is an anxiety attack or a panic attack
exact,
or that
yeah,
was actually depression that I was feeling because some of us were not aware of what we were feeling. Some of us did
exactly.
not know what we were even going through.
Yeah,
There was no name to put onto the emotion because we weren't taught that.
yeah.
So when was the first time that you kind of, as you backtrack, when you realized you were being made aware that was like the first time I had a panic attack or an anxiety attack or when I felt like I was depressed or angry or like those big emotions.
Hmm.
Yeah, those intense ones that are significant to you.
Um, so it goes way back in primary school. Um, I didn't know it was a panic attack. Um, I was doing some athletic thing, and during the course of I was walking, and then I stopped and I just felt a panic attack arise, which I did not think it was a panic attack. I just thought I could not breathe, and I was shaky and my heart was racing and I stopped the race.
Mud
My
race.
mud race. And I needed to walk off the field. And that was the first time I experienced a real panic attack.
So, what did you think was happening in that moment?
I think I put too much pressure on myself. Like I wanted to be the winner. I wanted to be the first one in like the if I say family amongst like my mom, my dad, my brother. So I wanted to make them proud. So I wanted
And they were
them to
obviously
see,
watching you,
yes,
so
during
that
that
pressure
time.
was on you as well.
Exactly, exactly.
And you were how old?
I was, I think I was 11 or 12, could be around that time.
Experiencing your first panic
Yes,
attack at that young age because you felt that you needed to please
yes,
and get approval from
exactly,
family.
exactly.
That's intense.
And when was yours?
Wowzers. If I think about it, I can't even backtrack when I was
Mm,
younger because that for me takes a lot of in-depth thought that
mm,
I'm not right now prepared
yeah,
for.
later on.
Later on, yes,
Yeah.
we'll get there. But I do know that I have experienced it when I was probably as young as you
Mm,
as well. But I think a lot of big emotions for me back then was loneliness,
mm,
and I think also just a lot of like depression that
mm,
came with that as well
sure.
because you don't actually even know that because you are feeling sad, it's because you are lonely, it's
Mm,
because you don't know how to do certain things socially or be
exactly.
a
Yeah.
certain way socially. But I think that that was like the main points of how I felt back then that I can remember right
Yeah.
now. But I think my first panic attack was actually when I was in my early pregnancy.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
very scary. And I think it built up to a panic attack. I think
Mm,
what I experienced before was
yeah.
anxiety attacks. And I'm not saying that the one is greater than the
Yeah.
other, but I think physically and
Yes.
like psychologically, there is a little bit of a difference
Mm.
as well. And I didn't understand that before, but
Was
now,
it the day that when you were walking in the store? Yes, I
yes.
remember you called me.
I called
Yes.
you.
Yes. Yes. But only after, like
Yo, I
after
don't
the
even
entire
remember
thing.
that. But
Yes.
yeah, that was in the store and I didn't know what was happening.
Mm.
I was just able to put my arms up and just breathe and then like I just remembered being very
Vague.
fuzzy
Yeah.
and like I was a little bit dizzy. And I think that was the first time I experienced a panic attack. And I
Sure.
think yeah, it was in my early pregnancy, so it was even more scary as well,
Yes, because you're
knowing that
pregnant
you are
and you
carrying as well.
oh,
Yeah,
and you're not in the comfort of your own home. You're
exactly,
outside in a
exactly.
mall.
And people are
Wow.
watching you. Not that I ever care about that,
Mm,
but just to know that like it has such an effect that like people would look at you.
mm. And I
Um,
wanted to ask you, like your day-to-day basis now, like after that experience, how
mm.
do you overcome like the whole feeling of going back to a shopping mall? And do you ever experience like or think about what if I get another panic attack while I'm at the mall?
I mean, all the time, and I think it has happened afterwards
Mm,
in a public setting as well. But I think it's just about the circumstance. I
yeah.
think it's the emotion, the intense emotion
Mm.
around what is happening in that present moment
Okay.
that makes me feel that way. So
Okay.
I think you can have all the necessary tools required for you in that moment. But
Mm.
like if it's a little bit more intense for you to kind of think it through, then it
Yeah.
takes more work, it takes more
Yes.
effort. And because you have only now gotten to a place where you're having to manage that, it is a little bit more difficult.
Yes.
If you were a little bit younger trying to manage your emotions, then it's easier, I
Mm.
think. I could be
I think
wrong.
it's
I
also
don't know.
because, like what we spoke about previously, is that when not knowing what a
Yeah,
panic attack is, you're
exactly.
not as scared of your emotions acting out at
Yeah,
that point. But
yeah.
when you realize that, oh my gosh, this is a panic attack, what if
Mm,
it's coming out now? What if it's going to happen now? We
exactly.
make as if it's a bigger thing than what it is,
Yeah.
like the situation.
Yeah. But I think also adding on to that is the emotion of it as
Yes,
well, like how you don't realize the
exactly.
intensity of your emotion because that is the reason why you get a
Yes,
panic attack, you
yes,
know. So I think looking back at it now, me being aware of why I was having that
yeah,
panic attack and why, even though present, I still get it, all the situations were different
true.
when all the emotions were different, but the
Mm,
intensity of it, yes, different, but very high.
yeah,
Um, and there are times where you can talk yourself through it. You
mm,
can be like, just breathe, just focus on what you need to do, understand what you are feeling, acknowledge what you are
exactly.
feeling, recognize it so that you are able to be aware and then at the same time breathe yourself through
Mm,
it. Um, and then that allows you to be present
yeah,
because otherwise your head is spinning, you're feeling the emotion, you are, I think sometimes you kind of get physically shaken up
yes,
as well, your heart is pounding, so you've got the heart palpitations going, and then you don't know what to do. So
yeah,
when
at
you're
that
talking
moment.
yourself through
Exactly.
it, it helps.
Yeah.
So I think having the tools to do that,
Mm,
and that wasn't even research, that was me just doing that on my own,
mm,
figuring that out that like this is what you have to kind of do right
yes.
now because how else are you
Gonna
gonna
get
get
through
through
it.
life? But to answer your question about the public
Mm,
spaces, I have learned to manage the public spaces
okay.
so I don't go out when on certain occasions.
Same.
So I kind of
Mm,
had to figure out when to go, when
mm,
not to go. But not also only for me, but for my daughter as
yeah.
well. Like I wouldn't also want to overwhelm her with a lot of people when it's just maybe like the two of us most of the time
Yeah.
together. So yeah, it's
Okay.
still today, it's still a work in process.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's a lot though,
it's a
especially being
lot.
a new mom. Also,
Exactly.
not wanting your daughter to see the way you are feeling, even
Exactly.
though you want to teach them, but
Hmm.
also you also want to be mindful of how
Yeah.
you're acting and how you're feeling at that moment,
Yeah.
where you can soften the situation
Mm-hmm.
and then tell your daughter or
Exactly.
yeah.
But did you ever feel like when you had medicine that those kinds of things are what you were thinking about after you had her, or was that actually before the mindfulness and the consciousness of being a parent?
So because I was so young, I feel
Mm-hmm.
like I didn't have too much thought about it. To be very
Mm-hmm.
honest, it took a couple of years to actually think about it. It's
Yeah.
only now recently, like with my son, we I'm actually being more mindful of
Yeah.
my outbursts or
Yeah.
the way
Yeah.
I'm feeling at that moment,
Mm-hmm.
or when I do experience an outburst in
Yeah.
front of them, which sometimes you can't control,
Yeah.
right?
And we are human and we make
Exactly,
mistakes. Yes.
exactly. Where I can't control it, then I will speak to my daughter
Mm-hmm.
and tell her, look, this is what I've experienced. This is why I'm feeling this way. And they are old enough now. Well, my daughter's old enough now
Yeah.
to actually understand it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Because she at times can feel the same way as
exactly,
well, even if she
exactly.
tells you or not. Like
Yeah,
those emotions are still there
yeah,
for her. So yeah.
exactly. Yes. But I've been living with anxiety all my life. Where there was a stage where I did not go to malls.
Mm.
Even now, like it's very difficult for me to go to a busy mall,
Yeah.
even busy places where I would rather not go,
Mm.
or I'll cancel when
Yeah.
people invite me to places like
Yeah.
that. When I know the times it get busy, I know the times where it's quiet. So I would rather
Exactly.
go to the like more quiet places.
Exactly.
And or outdoor things, like I would prefer outdoor things where it's
Yeah.
easier. I know I can breathe. I know I
Yeah.
can
You've
move
got
out of
air
that
and
space.
space.
Yes, yes. So like now it's so much easier to think about if I
Yeah,
feel like I'm getting a panic attack, like you
yeah,
say, like
yeah,
you think about it first, you know it's
exactly.
probably coming,
Yeah.
and then you'll take a step back and be like, okay, I just need to breathe through it and conquer the day.
But it's again something that we weren't taught. It's things that we
Exactly.
had to figure out
Out ourselves.
ourselves and learn through all of these
Yeah.
things.
Oh,
So these are the little topics, little but big
yeah.
topics that we will be speaking about in future. And we'll be adding on to these things as
Exactly.
well. So a lot of intergenerational trauma, a lot of these generational cycles as well that we're breaking. So even though it's things that we are maybe presently, currently
Going
going through,
through.
we are taking everybody on a
Journey
journey
with
with
us.
us into our healing. So it's a lot of vulnerability,
Yeah.
and we are putting ourselves out there. If you relate, if you feel that there's also things that we could be adding on to
Mm.
our topics, please feel free to add on to our comment section as well.
Yeah.
Don't forget to subscribe, like,
Please.
press notifications, everything and everything. So you can stay up to date and in tune with us so that we can be in tune with
With you.
you.
Thank
That
you.
was actually really
I
good.
love it.
So yeah, until next time, we'll see you again.
Love you.